Hey, Purposeful Peeps. I hope you're having a wonderful day or night wherever you are in the world. So, episode 4 was actually meant to be an interview, but that didn't work out. But, I know I'm even uploading this video a day late. It's just ridiculous. But do you know what? That's why I'm talking about consistency and the fact that consistency is hard. But, I'm going to get into that. So, before I get started, I just wanted to let you know, I want to do interviews. I planned interviews, but sometimes schedules and other things don't work out. So, even when I don't upload an interview, I'm still going to at least upload just a convo from me to you, okay? So, this is my effort. This is me putting in my effort to be consistent. Anyway, so let's get down to it. Consistency is hard, but 3 reasons why you mustn't give up. Now, each and every one of you listening to this podcast have been given a vision. And even if you may not right now be able to identify that vision, God created you for a reason. I'm very passionate about this. I always say that once you leave this earth, there will never be another you. No one can do what you were created to do better than you. So when it comes to being consistent in really putting your best foot forward and not half-stepping your purpose to really become that woman or man that God created you to be, it's going to be hard. Because you're going to be required to exercise muscles that you may not have known existed. Spiritual muscles, mental muscles, emotional muscles. There's so many muscles that we're going to have to exercise in order to really build that strength to not only become who God called us to be, but to handle who God called us to be. So I'm going to share with you my 3 reasons why you mustn't give up and why you must really practice consistency. So my first reason is, if you want to become that person, you're going to have to practice the art of laying down brick by brick. I want you to think about building a house, right? In order to see that finished house, that house is going to need the foundation, the bricks, the windows, the chimney, right? The chimney, oh gosh, yeah. The roof. All those components for building a house. I'm sure I've missed like 20 other things which go into building a house, but let's just focus on the bricks for now. Sometimes, I know for me, and one place where I went wrong a lot of times is I would start to lay down bricks. And when I saw just how intimidating and just how big the project would be, I would abandon it. So let's say 50 bricks in, and I'll just be like, you know what? This is actually hard. I don't want to do this anymore. And a few months later, I want to build another house. So then I start laying down bricks for something else. And then a few months later after that, I'm like, this is a little hard. I don't want to do this anymore. My point is that we need to commit to seeing that house through to the end. Don't just stop when it gets hard. Don't just stop when you're looking at just how big the project is and give up. Don't forget who you're supposed to be building with. God gave you the vision. He will provide for you. He will provide the resources. He will provide the strength. He will provide everything that you need in order to complete what He started in you. And I think sometimes we can be so focused on the finished product that we forget that it's a process, it's a journey, and that we have to also be developing and growing as we're building. So one thing that I know that can be really hard is knowing how much to take on at once. So let's say that you have a full-time job and you have all these other commitments. You may have a family and all these other things, but then God has given you this amazing vision. Just because right now you may not have the time to lay down 50 bricks a day, it doesn't mean you can't lay down 2 bricks a day. Do you get what I'm saying? Like, don't write yourself off because you can't live up to a standard that really and truly wasn't even what you needed to have in the first place. Like, I feel like sometimes we overwhelm ourselves trying to do the most when all God is asking us is to be faithful with the little things, you know? And that actually brings me to my second reason why you mustn't give up and you must be consistent, because you must show yourself approved and you must show that you can be faithful with the little things. I'm going to read you a scripture. One moment. Okay, Luke chapter 16 verse 10 says, "Whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much, and whoever is dishonest with very little will also be dishonest with much." For those of you who may have, let's say you have a multi-million-dollar idea, right? Like, you see yourself having this big business. If you can't be faithful with the pennies that you have now, if you can't be faithful with the leadership commitments that you have now, how are you going to be able to manage a multi-million-dollar company? Question mark. We can become so fixated on the glamorous ideas that we have that we forget what goes in to manage, like, becoming that person to be able to manage what we have. Like, we need to not take anything for granted right now. We need to be thankful, faithful right now. For example, let me give you an example from me and building Dear Purposeful Woman. I know I keep on plugging Dear Purposeful Woman, but to all my ladies out there, check it out, okay? For your daily encouragement and seeds of inspiration. Anyway, Dear Purposeful Woman, I cannot begin to tell you the vision that I have for Dear Purposeful Woman, a God-given vision. And I just know in my heart that one day Dear Purposeful Woman is going to be an international sensation. It's going to be it's going to impact women across the globe. I want to travel the world. I want to help women across the world. That's just something that it's just so embedded in me. I cannot tell you how passionate I am about this. But what I also realize is where I'm planted right now, if I don't put in the maximum effort in doing the best that I can do right now where I'm currently planted, if I can't encourage the 1,000 women who are on my Instagram, or the hundreds of women who read the Dear Purposeful Woman blog post, or the women who email me, contact me, if I can't put the effort and see their lives as precious and valuable, how am I going to see thousands or millions of women's lives as valuable? It starts with one. God will know your heart by how you deal with the smallest of things. Because realize that one small thing multiplies. So when God says, whoever can be trusted with very little can also be trusted with much, and whoever is dishonest with very little will also be dishonest with much. Because let me tell you one thing, much doesn't change your heart. It's what you do with little. It's who you are with little. Reveals a lot. It really reveals a lot. So we really need to be praying for preparation. We really need to be praying for discernment, for dealing with what we currently have, for making the most of what we have, for growing and developing into the women and the men who can handle much, so that when we get what we're dreaming about, we don't throw it away. Think about how many people have dreamed and had their dream come to life and blown it simply because they didn't realize the responsibilities that came with their vision, with their God-given vision. And that's why it's really important, to daily, to really ask for that wisdom, and to surround yourself with people who are going to counsel you and who are going to give you the advice that you need and not lead you down a bad path. So last but not least, I want to talk about the importance of embracing the journey of you becoming who you were created to be. One thing that can really discourage us when we're trying to be consistent is not seeing results at this pace that we want to, or really just setting ourselves up for failure and forgetting that it's a process. As I talk about on my first tip, that was about, laying down those bricks. Well, now I want to talk about exercising those spiritual muscles. I want to talk about that a little bit more. When you decide you want to become a little bit more fit, so like say you want to go to the gym more, and like you want to become fitter, like you want to become healthier, you want to build up strength, you will create a plan. You may say, hey, you're going to spend 20 minutes a day on cardio, and you're going to eat this type of food for the duration of this time, or blah blah blah. Dismiss the blah blah blah. Sorry, I tend to say stuff like that. But anyway, yeah. If you want to eat healthy, if you want to exercise, you're going to have to put a plan in place in order to do those things, right? If you want to become a better writer, if you want to become a better speaker, you're going to have to put time aside to be able to develop those skills. And that doesn't mean to overwhelm yourself. Like I said with my first tip, don't be trying to lay down 50 bricks when you're only being called to lay down 2 a day. But you're going to have to do something. You can't do nothing and expect to see results. But at the same time, don't overwhelm yourself in thinking that everything is going to look how you envision it in your mind. It doesn't always go that way. Like, I'm realizing more and more that step 1 leads to step 2 and step 2 leads to step 3. But step 2 may not look how you want it to look. But that doesn't mean that you're not built to move over to step 3. It doesn't mean that you haven't got the capacity to continue to grow and continue to change. So that's why we want to keep in mind is you have to be willing to embrace the journey. And even when it doesn't look the way you want it to look, you just have to keep going. You have to be consistent. I really hope that this podcast has encouraged you. Right now, it's Tuesday night and it's just past 11 p.m. And I know this podcast is a day late, but I have to do it. I have to upload it. Regardless, I have to be consistent, and I know it's a day late, and I need to do better. I do need to do better with that, but I can't give up. I can't give up, and I will get better. And the same goes for you. Don't be too hard on yourself. Sometimes you're not going to do things the way you envisioned it in your mind, but that doesn't mean you should give up. It doesn't mean you should condemn yourself. If anything, it means you need to reposition yourself. You need to think, what can I do better next time? So for me personally, I know that if an interview doesn't work out, I need to still be prepared to upload on my Monday. So that's what I'm going to do for next week. But I really hope that you enjoy this podcast. I'm going to recap the 3 reasons why you mustn't give up. For one, you need the practice. You need to be willing to lay down those bricks. You need to be willing to embrace that journey. And my second tip was you have to be willing to show yourself approved. Show that you can handle the small stuff so that when you do get the increase, you're good to go. And thirdly, just embrace it. Embrace the journey of becoming who God has called you to be. So, I want you to think about one area of your life that you need to be more consistent with. And I really hope that, this week that you do something differently that is going to really that's going to set you up for success. That's going to set you up for success. So I hope you enjoyed this podcast. I'm Shandice, and this is a podcast for purposeful people striving to live and be better. I'll catch you next week for episode 5. I hope you enjoyed episode 4. So take care. See ya.